What's up, everyone? Internet's second tiredest music teacher, Elaw here. Today we're coming at you with a reaction to personal favorite. The track is Take Me Back to Eden by Sleep Token. Jumping on this bandwagon here. Also, though, like 9 months too late, 12 months too late. But it's off of their album of the same name, Take Me Back to Eden, from 2023. And let's just give it a go. You can see, though, really holding up to the tired here today. All right. Before we dive into this one, even though I have heard it before, have not listened to it through good headphones. So this will be hopefully a new experience in that regard, getting to pull a little bit more out of the mix with these. So let's give it a go. You've got this natural world kind of enveloping you at the beginning.
I dream in phosphorescence, bleed through spaces, see you drifting past the fall, but no one told you where to go.
Gonna try and keep my pausing to a minimum here, I promise. But first is Vessel's tone of voice with that British accent is just so juicy. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a beautiful voice. And then a lot of the lyrics, especially in this one, this is probably going to be my number one song for 2024 on Spotify. To be totally honest, I was late to the party. Didn't find them until May of this year. Anyway, but a lot of clever lyrics here. So we had drifting past the fog, seemingly like they know where they're going, but having not been given that direction. And then we've got some other stuff as we get further in here that I find to be just really nice wordsmithing. So let's keep it going, though. Let me back that up real quick. So I think what's happening, so we still have some echo there, but then when we get to this part, we dive through crystal waters. There's like an extra layering added into the vocals. It's got like more of a punch to it, I think. It brings it out differently. Interesting. I said I was going to try and keep it to a minimum. I'm not doing great. But I was thinking about this earlier today. In terms of spatial audio creation, in the past we had panning left and right, and that was about it. But now we're getting into more of a three-dimensional sort of ability with audio placement within the headphone, and like the echo coming off of the back part of the voice is, it feels to me like it's back up here in the very back corners of the the drivers in the headphone, and it's really like trying to pull you in and lift you up closer to it so you can hear it better. And it's such a fascinating production tool that adds just this layer that I've never even considered before. It's so cool.
I will travel far beyond the path of reason. Take me back to Eden. Take me back to Eden. Well, yeah, I spit blood when I wake up. Sink porcelain stain, choking up brain matter and makeup. Just 2 days since the mainframe went down and I'm still messed up. Room feels like a meat freezer, I dangling like cold cuts. Missed calls, answer phones from people I just don't trust. Mirror talk, fake love, but I'll take a pound of your flesh before you take a piece of my pay stub. White roses, black doves, godmother, rise up. I need you to see me for what I have become. My mind, those eyes like fire. I'm a winged insect, you're a funeral pyre. Come now, bite through these wires. I'm a waking hell and the gods grow tired. Reset my patient violence along both lines of a pathway higher. Grow back your sharpest teeth, you know my desire.
So one of the things we hear there is a transition over to, I guess what some people would say is more like a UK grime kind of style of hip hop. But we do hear like that trap sort of transition in the percussion over from set to electronic. And that's something that 2 does really well. And there's a couple Drumeo videos to check out if you haven't seen those, where 2 is playing through some of the stuff. And at first I thought, and I think it was on Alkaline, I thought it was ridiculous to have an electronic kit and then the acoustic kit. But watching their work with that transition between the 2 was really interesting, in seeing what sort of stylistic differences, what effect that had on the choice of drum kit. So I think having that transition here to the electronic kit and getting that more trap style with that really tight hat, it's very interesting. So anyway, let's push it forward here.
I guess it goes to show, does it not, that we've no idea what we've got until we lose it. And no amount of love will
got that transition back to the acoustic kit there. Didn't even put that together. I mean, I'm sure I have in the past, but it gets a lot more vibrant, and that's what we get going on as we go further into the track like this. And yes, our Brit pop bangers. Anyway, let's talk about that. All right, coming off of that, I mean, I don't think I have too much else to say that hasn't already been said before by other YouTubers, other musicians, and so on. It's such a killer track, and the way it builds up to that final angry unleashing energy at the end, I think is just so cool how it's done. I guess the other thing to talk about briefly is whether or not Sleep Token is in fact a metal band or not. As far as I can tell, that's still a point of debate. And I don't think it's really necessary to put them into a label, to be honest. I think they definitely do have elements of metal and they do have elements of hip hop. And I don't think you have to slap a label on everything. Do they have a bunch of hip hop fans going to their shows? Not totally sure. Do they have a bunch of metal fans going to their shows? I think so. So I think it's safer to say that they could fall into a genre, maybe like experimental, but that doesn't really fit the bill because they're not like weird out there grindcore kind of experimental, which is what we, I guess, usually kind of associate with that genre. They're also not like fusion metal, even though they're fusing a whole bunch of different elements across the board with their stuff. So it's really challenging, and I think that's why you could say that it's pretty metal inspired, but it's not necessarily. We don't have to call it metal. If you listen to some of their other tracks, you're like, this track, not really metal. That's totally fine. So there was a time where I would have absolutely gone mad trying to figure out how to classify them into a genre, but I mean, I just don't think that's really necessary anymore. And at least for me, that's fine. So I think they got some heavy stuff, and I appreciate that from them. Anyway, if you like this kind of content and you want to see some more stuff like this, you want to curate some of this stuff, drop a comment down below or fill out the Google form in the channel description, and we'll get to them in the next, I don't know, probably 2-ish weeks, based on when you fill it out. Trying to do 4 or 5 of the Google Forms per week, and then sprinkle in my own across the week as well. So, yeah. Anyway, until next time, the internet's second tiredest music teacher, Elaw, out.